Marijuana has always been a part of the journey. It has always been, even when it was not medical, even when it was just, a
Illegal.
mood enhancer. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Because honestly, it's a much healthier mood enhancer than alcohol.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
hands down, like no questions
No,
about it at all. And so when I was at my worst of anxiety and depression, even though I did have a medical card at the time for chronic pain, I was really using it more just to not have the existential dread creep in ways that I couldn't handle.
Welcome to Season 5 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. Your host is Honey Smith Walls, author of the new book, Healing Beyond High, Cannabis Truth, a gentle, practical guide for elders to learn cannabis fundamentals safely and effectively without overuse or overwhelm. In a world where the FDA has yet to stamp its approval on this ancient natural remedy, Honey Smith Walls bridges the gap between Western healthcare norms, uplifting benefits and relief through gentle cannabis plant therapies. Join this 21st century cannabis shaman, uniquely positioned to assess the green intentions of medical, farming, and business industries in cannabis and uncover fascinating historical, political, scientific, and spiritual facets of the plant.
For sure.
So I just want to welcome you to the Cannabis Truth Podcast. I thank you so much, darling sister. About that in a minute. Why I'm so tickled for you to be here. And so, Laurelann Porter, that didn't come out right.
No, that's so funny because people tell me I'm a portal. They tell me I'm a healing portal. And I was like, it's literally in my name. I'm Laurelann Porter. I'm the one that opens doors for you.
You're the portal woman.
I'm the portal woman.
Wow. The portal keeper.
Right.
Ooh, that is so juicy.
Yeah.
That is just so juicy. Let me back up a little bit, audience.
Sure.
Laurelann and I have recently met and become business sisters through Elizabeth Ocean's Women's Holistic Business Academy, where we have learned how to navigate this social media world in order to make ourselves known and get our word out in this new age of communication.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we didn't just find a new business avenue. We really found each other. We really found our heart's content in support and business knowledge and the acumen to go forward in confidence. And so I didn't realize what it meant when I jumped into the academy because I was just flailing, stay above water. And I was, been doing that for 5 years.
Well, and I've been part of a whole variety of coaching programs and masterminds and I've learned a little bit in each one. And of course, I was always super impatient and I wanted all the change right now, but that is currently my lesson that I'm working with right now during this particular journey through the medicine wheel is accepting that time works in different ways than just the linear, here to there, and embracing the cycles of time and understanding that even though I'm on a journey to that, I'm cultivating it in the here and now, right now. Yeah.
So the juicy tidbits of wisdom that we glean from everybody else.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I had 6 things I wanted to say, but can't even now to what you just said. Because what we all say resonates so deeply within each of us.
Yeah.
And that's not only the spiritual part of being in a collective like this, that nourishes our womanly juju.
Right.
But it just feeds us with inspiration and creativity.
Yes, and creativity is so key to everything for me. I
Everything.
didn't I didn't realize until it was um well in hindsight that it was actually creativity that saved me from the darkest places. Where I didn't know what else to do, and I turned to creativity. And that's what I did during the pandemic, when I was like, okay, the world is collapsing and all of the systems and structures that I believed were true and were going to hold us are bogus. And so what can I do to make sure that I don't fall through all these cracks and collapse with society? And so my partner, who had been gigging, and so he was suddenly out of work and had a bunch of free time. I was like, let's make that album that we've been wanting to make. And so we did. We made our album, and it was basically our response to the pandemic. And we released it on Labor Day of 2020. And then I crashed hard because I didn't have a creative project to work on anymore. And so then I had to start learning how to always bring creativity into my daily life.
Oh, that's so juicy. That is so juicy. Tell us what the name of your album is. We'd love to look it up, hear it, listen.
Oh, wonderful. It's called Comfort Food. And we named it that partly because, well, the name of our band is The Rhythm and the Flavor.
I love that.
Right. And we call ourselves that because when I was doing my PhD, and he was like my regular person that I could talk about big fancy ideas with in a way that people could understand. And because I was doing my field work in Brazil, and I have lived in Brazil, both my ex-husbands are Brazilian, so I have a strong connection to Brazil. And we sort of realized, well, what's the best way to get to know another culture? Through the rhythms and the flavors.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how we decided to name our band The Rhythm and the Flavor, because when you break it down to the core of what we're looking at in any kind of cultural expression, it is the rhythms and the flavors.
It's always how you're dancing and how you're eating. It is.
Yes. Yeah.
What your joy is.
Yeah.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Music, total joy.
Absolutely.
And eating, total joy.
Right. Right.
Or it could
Well,
be
and
the
of
opposite.
course, yeah, I mean, I was a comfort food eater for many years. And at
Me
the
too.
time that we did that album, I weighed 300 pounds. And
Cool, girl.
it was through the shamanic energy medicine that I was able to shed that weight. Not because I hadn't been trying for 20 or 30 years prior, but because I had to heal deeply a lot of those reasons why I had always turned to food for comfort when I
Sure.
didn't know what else to do. So it seems sort of apropos that that album prior to my deep healing was called Comfort Food. And then I have my 2023 album, which I did solo. Well, my partner still helped me produce everything, but it's called Soul Journeying. And that really is the collection of songs that came through for me as a result of my year of healing in Brazil. I just took a year off of life after the pandemic. I quit my job as a professor. I walked away from academia, and I just spent, and my mother had just died. And I was like, so I was in mourning, I was in grief, and I was doing it creatively. And so that's how all these songs came through, and that's how I developed my program in creative grieving. And it really, and speaking to your podcast, marijuana has always been a part of the journey. It has always been, even when it was not medical, even when it was just,
Illegal.
a mood enhancer. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Because honestly, it's a much healthier mood enhancer than alcohol.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, hands down, like no questions about it at all.
Yeah.
And so when I was at my, worst of anxiety and depression, even though I did have a medical card at the time for chronic pain, I was really using it more just to not have the existential dread creep in ways that I couldn't handle,
When did you start using cannabis in your life?
You mean like ever at all, even casually?
Yeah, for me, I was about 14.
Oh, I was in college.
Yeah.
I somehow I skipped it all during high school, but once I was in college, there were
Yeah.
opportunities and I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then it was really just a once in a while thing.
Yeah.
And it always felt the environments in which we were smoking was always felt like a much more safe and relaxed environment than the places where we were drinking.
Oh,
When
isn't
you
it
think
good?
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, small intimate parties of
Yeah.
people you knew, as
Yep.
opposed to being out in public on
Yeah.
public display,
Right.
getting inebriated, or as
Right.
we used to say it, hey, let's go get drunk.
I mean, right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, and that was the
And
objective.
then finding a cab home, right?
Or driving home drunk.
Well, I mean, I was in Boston in college, and so I didn't drive at all, but
Yeah.
still,
Oh,
yeah.
good. Yeah, everybody's got a lot of alcoholic stories to compare, mostly to their cannabis use.
Right.
And the change and the chasm between them is just, Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So,
and I have several good friends who are recovering alcoholics who smoke weed every day because that's actually how they were able to give up alcohol completely, is because they had this other thing which allowed them to be functional.
Exactly. Did you know that there's a terpene that grows very, very often and prevalently in cannabis called beta-caryophyllene that has the ability to knock out all addictive behaviors, whether it's Coca-Cola, cocaine, salt, sugar, opium, whatever.
I did not know that.
And so beta-caryophyllene is a new and upcoming compound that we're just learning about, although guess where you find it?
Right.
In everything. It's in cloves and cinnamon and fruits and veggies, and grows in cannabis too. It's a terpene. So, but it acts like a cannabinoid. Sorry to go off on all that sciencey stuff. I'm just so excited about the new discoveries.
Right.
Coming out in cannabis.
Absolutely.
Because if not for the street weed, the legacy dealers, we wouldn't be here in the medical world, or still fighting all the politicians, I might add.
I mean, right.
Oh boy.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls, and she's a real strong advocate and educator about cannabis. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
And all that day, I mean, I had just one. I just had this silly grin all over my face. Suddenly colors came back to me. I'm a musician and a creative, and colors are very important to me. They give me such joy, and I didn't realize how they had muted and how colors had just turned uninteresting.
Oh boy.
Eye-catching to me. And suddenly, bam, I'm seeing greens and blues and reds and oranges and everything in between. And it was just so uplifting to me. It made me grateful. Oh, where are you now, darling?
I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, and so it's pretty chilly, and I'm bundling up.
I'm getting cold too. I'm up in about 50 miles north of Detroit. Gosh, I wanted to sing Erie, Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. Sorry. I am a musician as well, darling, and I used to have a band for 15 years called the Medieval Gypsies in
I love it.
Florida, just before I moved up here about a year or so ago. And I miss them terribly. When I left, they continue to play, and I love watching them as they move forward. That's wonderful. It's like watching your kids grow and be happy.
Absolutely.
But I've not found a single solitary soul to play with up here in Michigan. And I'm just,
oh my goodness.
I know, I'm just desperate to play with somebody. And I play a bunch of different instruments, and I play a bunch of different genres. So, if it ain't rap, I'm good.
Yeah, there's a couple of genres I don't really play around with too much, but I focus mostly on blues influenced, so it could be bluesy, jazzy. I do, of course, love Brazilian rhythms and anything bossa nova, any of the Brazilian styles. I love bringing those into it as well.
Hey, can I brag about you for just a second? I just went to your profile. Yeah, really? Yeah, you got a lot to brag about. You're a small business owner, creative and intuitive healing artist, a former instructor at Arizona State University, former assistant professor of communication at arts at
Benedictine University,
a former adjunct faculty at Scottsdale Community College, former actor at Arizona Curriculum Theater, girl after my own heart, and former film and theater instructor at New School for
the Arts and Academics.
For the Arts and studied theater and performance of the Americas at wherever
Arizona State University.
Yeah, I'm just reading off your profile. And, some of those sentences were a little bit long, but that's okay.
Well, that's how academics love to do things. They love extra colons and punctuation.
Yeah, for sure. But I just wanted to say all of that because you've got a tremendous history of rich and valuable skills that you've developed and because of your talents and passions. But I met you here and I follow you because of your spirituality as a woman.
Right.
I am suddenly dedicated to women living better on this planet.
Yeah.
With less pain, whether it's physical or emotional. That means getting into the deep of us.
Oh, yes, it does.
And if you need a tool to help you get there, cannabis is a beautiful, natural tool to help you get there in both your mind and whatever physical pain you might have.
Yeah.
But that's not all you need, darlings. You got to have the spiritual guidance and access and another, woman or even, male thought leader who can help you reframe all that shit that's going on in your mind. Because I've been telling every woman I meet practically, oh, honey, don't believe everything you believe. I mean, don't believe everything you tell yourself.
Right.
Because your mind is made up of all those words you learned from the womb on that form sentences, that form thoughts, and then were corrected by all of the people around you telling you, no, don't do it that way, do it this way.
Oh, yeah. This is why a major component of my program in shamanic artistry, is a workshop to decolonize the mind. Right? Because that was so creativity and marijuana helped me get out of the dark place. But the thing that helped me figure out what was wrong and how to fix it was decolonizing my mind, was the research methodology from my PhD, where we look at ourselves, we make observations, and we have to observe, what am I eating? What am I doing? How am I feeling? Am I meditating or not? Am I doing this or not? How's my clarity? And measuring it and just checking, okay, today I'm feeling this way and I've done this and this and this, and taking a few months of that. And first,
it's a formula.
It is a formula. Yeah.
It's a formula.
Because we have to ask ourselves, okay, where did this belief come from? Is it true? Is it empowering me, or is it disempowering me? And how can we replace those unhealthy, unuseful thoughts and beliefs that we inherited mostly from our families, from our churches, from our educational institutions? We inherited these beliefs. They're not natural to us.
No.
And then we have to decide consciously, do I want to keep that or do I want to let it go?
I learned a new word a couple of months ago, and I just love this new word. I'm from Oklahomish, and one of my girlfriends call what I speak Oklahomish. I'm from Oklahoma, and she calls what I speak Oklahomish. That's adorable. But that new word that I learned is something that's been in my vocabulary for a long, long time that I never used. It's called eject. And for all that shit that no longer serves me, and even the relationships that I've been hanging on to,
Mm.
because we're old friends. We've been friends for so long, but it
Yeah.
doesn't serve me. And it
Mhm.
doesn't serve that other person either.
Yep. Yep.
Eject,
Eject.
eject.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that gives me
It
space
does. It gives
in
more
my
space.
mind for creativity.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then the
Exactly.
ideas and the opportunities come to you because you're not thinking about all that old shit.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Oh, tell us more about your workshop. Is that what you're
Oh, yeah.
up?
So I have a few. I've got like some intense workshops. I've got a 6-month program. The program that it's all kind of rooted in is Butterfly Boot Camp. And so what Butterfly Boot Camp is, it is just a journey through the shamanic medicine wheel. And that is how I was trained at the Four Winds Society. So we begin in the South, where we learn how to shed our past. And then I accentuate that with my process in creative grieving, because if we want to really let go of the past, we have to grieve for that version of ourselves that we can no longer be. Otherwise, we're still hanging on to bitterness and regret. And so really grieving for that version of ourselves that we're leaving in the past is how we move through the South. And then in the West, which is actually where I am in my own current process, because we can go through the medicine wheel many times, in the West is where we face death and we learn how to be the peaceful warrior, the warrior that is fully equipped, but never, ever, ever fights, that always treats everything as an act of love. And that is where true courage comes from.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then I add kind of what I call the cocoon, because it's Butterfly Boot Camp. And so in the cocoon, we decolonize our minds, we do deep shadow work, and we do dream work, because that's where the juiciness is. It's right there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Then we move to the north, and in the north is the medicine of the hummingbird. And everybody loves the hummingbird because the hummingbird teaches us to drink only from the nectar of life, to stop drinking all that toxic bullshit and drink only from the nectar of life. And also to find stillness when the world is chaotic all around us. We can find stillness even when we're moving through life at what feels like, lightning pace. And then when we move to the east, that is divination and death rites. And then I finish off the program with how to write your own mythology. Because
What does that mean?
well, when we take charge of the stories that we tell, and when
Yes.
we decide how we're going to narrate our life, we are really empowering ourselves to create new mythologies that are life affirming, that center joy and creativity. And we don't have to live by the myths we have inherited, which are so often about war and conquest and all this other kind of thing.
Girl, you make my nips hard. I'm not kidding you. This stuff is so juicy. It makes me tingle inside and gives me goosebumps everywhere.
Let's do it.
I love this. And oh my glory, do women need workshops like this? Your workshop. I love the shamanic aspect and sort of, you'll see in my promo that I have called myself a cannabis shaman. And I did that really early on, but only because, not because I had the true experience of being a shaman, but because I was growing into it and there didn't seem to be many other people who were, at the time living this way, wanting to change into the spiritual. It's not just about medicating for physical. It's about learning how to become a good human on this planet. Not that you're not already, but we can be so much kinder and gentler and more loving to everybody and inclusive.
Yeah.
And women are the nurturers of the world. And so this is what we teach. But when we subject ourselves to all of that insane garbage that we listen to all day long, like you said, from the butterfly, going in the cocoon and staying,
right,
rid of all that junk.
Exactly.
I did that. I stopped listening to news. I stopped listening to politics. I don't turn the TV on in that way. I don't I don't go looking for it unless there's some disaster in Florida that's happening that I need to be aware of because of my
right,
pets, like the hurricanes.
right, exactly.
But, you know, it has been such a blessed relief. And yes, even in all of this chaos, I'm at peace.
Right, right. And what I didn't realize until much later was that I had to become the light that I thought was absent in the world. And I had to learn to trust that by cultivating that light inside, that it would radiate outward enough that it could begin to make a measurable change in my community, in the world.
The whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, we affect the whole world because of our ripples.
We do, and we forget that. And so when we remember it, and the more often we can remember it and then consciously go, oh, I do have an effect on the real world around me. So I'm going to be just a little more cautious about how I choose to use my words, about what energy I choose to put out into the world, because it is all coming back to me. I realized this so beautifully one day when I was meditating after smoking a joint while I was on my patio in Brazil. And I just decided, oh, you know what? I feel like I just want to send out love today. I just want to send out love to everyone I know and even everyone that I don't know. And I just sat there and I just sort of cultivated this energy coming out from my heart chakra and just sat there. And then after a while, I felt it coming back into the back of my heart chakra. I call it recharging my love battery.
Oh, I love that.
So all you have to do,
I love that.
all you have to do is send it out there until you start feeling it come back.
That is amazing, Laurelann. I love this whole idea. And
Right?
as the audience can see, you've kept my mouth dropped on the floor this whole little chat. But you know, it's so wonderful to be so connected and to really understand what you're saying, to feel the things you know that you're describing.
Yeah.
And I already have a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff I have yet to experience
Right.
because I didn't know about it.
Right. Right.
You know who Ganesh is?
The goddess. I
Ganesh.
mean, I don't have a deep understanding of her, but I'm aware.
I don't either. But I have enough of an understanding as a little privileged white girl to know that going outside of my religious upbringing and listening to the ancient wisdoms of these, you know, billions of people who have called to the graces that exist in our world to help them live more comfortably and more authentically. So I'm not going to tell the audience the story of Ganesh. My audience sort of already knows that I've used this Eastern philosophical mythological grace to help me find space in my mind. So I guess what I'm getting at is that I learned how to use mantras to find space in my mind, and it's so enjoyable to have time and room now to create things. Whereas before, if I'm always concerned and worried about what's coming next, what the next shoe is going to fall on my head, or what disaster I've got to try to clean up or fix, or all that stuff. It's not even my disaster.
Right. Right.
It doesn't give you room to think. And what you're doing shows us we need space for creativity. We need space to make our lives make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, I left corporate a long, long time ago. I think it's one of the reasons I was in academia for so long is because at least in academia, theoretically, we have breaks, even though as soon as we end one semester, we're preparing for the next. And so we really don't have real breaks, or they expect you to research and write and publish a book in your 3 months off.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole other, but the corporate world, I just don't even understand how anybody survives it, because the cubicle land is so barren and lifeless and toxic, really, that to expect people to go in 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and try to have any sort of meaningful life existence. I have an idea. If we could just pay everybody the same salary and only have them work 20 hours a week instead of 40, because I've seen I don't know, I can't quote anything, but I've seen reports where they say really after like 4 hours or maybe 6 at the most, your productivity is shit anyway. So
That's
why
right.
the fuck are we making people stick around to torture themselves so they can be desperate for a happy hour when 5 o'clock finally rolls around?
Right. To go out and kill themselves with alcohol.
Right.
To get over the terrible toxic taste in their mouth from their day.
Right.
I love this idea, but won't they call you a communist?
They might. They can call me whatever they want. My family calls me a witch doctor. I don't really care.
No, I really like that idea too. I'm not a greedy woman. I just need enough to take care of myself and my family and help others.
And travel a bit. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I love to travel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Too. No, I think it's a great idea. And although I don't see it happening anytime soon or even in my lifetime, it would be a lovely goal to obtain around the globe so that we can help. Oh my gosh, I don't understand why there are people starving on this planet.
I know.
Why is that? Even in our own Americas, it's so stupid. It's so gross. It's so male dominant.
Yeah, and also just the amount of waste.
And war
that happens
right.
at the time that starvation happens. It's kind of like, wow, really? Have we not figured this out yet? Oh, okay. So then,
yeah.
Yeah. We know the story. We know that the folks in power want to keep their power. Power is a drug just like anything else, right? And once you get addicted to power, I don't think it's very easy to give that up.
Oh, no, it's not, is it? No, I don't know too many people who gave up power graciously.
Right.
Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, Joe Biden. Right. But
like literally, he was like, "Oh, I guess it's not a good idea for me to continue doing this." Like, right. Yeah.
I appreciate that he did that.
Yeah, me too, because I was feeling a bit sort of jaded about everything again, and I didn't want to feel that jaded.
Right. No, I'm glad. I don't know what he's doing with cannabis. I mean, he said he was going to reschedule it to 3, but that was early on in, let's see, June, in May, maybe, and nothing. So I don't know, and I don't know what Kamala said about it, but, I know what stupid says. I don't give a shit,
I keep wondering if the hurricanes are just missing his property.
How does he do that? How does he so totally get past all of,
Yeah, I know. We could go on a long tirade of the amount of privilege surrounding.
Yeah, and I just, and I don't miss it. And I don't even want to start the argument because there's no reality in anything.
Although I do appreciate, just to close the political, I do appreciate that when I take my morning walks, there's one sign that says Kamala, obviously.
Oh, that's good.
You're my neighbor. I like you.
Up here, they've got great, big, huge flags the size of houses that say "fuck Biden."
Oh yeah, when I was living in Arizona, they had those. Yeah, coming out the back of their trucks.
I don't know who to believe, who's ahead up here, but I know that the attitudes are very survivalistic, nationalistic, and Republican, and it's a scary trio.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
So because they all carry guns, they're all very fearful, they're all very nervous,
Yeah.
and they're all very hateful, and they all believe everything they think. So, there's no room for anything. And that's the problem with believing everything you think.
Exactly. Exactly. When we don't pause to periodically re-examine, oh, wait a minute. Do I believe that? Is that actually really true? Why do I believe that? Where did that belief come from? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you mean I believe that, well, and I was about to try to use a hypothetical situation, and without exposing the person. But let's just say, for example, that one has grown up with a pathological liar in the family.
I did.
So then to unlearn that not everybody is lying to you all the time.
Oh, I still haven't. Now
Yeah,
that you mention it,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still skeptical.
Yeah.
Didn't realize I was such a skeptic until I
There you
made
go.
70.
There you
And
go.
I'm pretty skeptical.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of that can be helpful, right? Sometimes a healthy dose of skepticism is great, but when it sabotages your ability to have any kind of a meaningful trust relationship,
Yeah.
then it needs to be re-examined.
So I must be getting better because I really trust this group of women, this group of business women who I've gotten to know over the past few months, and we talk daily. If we're not on a Zoom call, then we're on, the back end on Messenger or something,
Yeah.
we in at each other. And, oh, sorry, cat hair. And, here's what I wanted to say. When I was a girl, my mother sent me to a private girls' Catholic school where the classes were separated by gender. And it was so much easier for me to raise my hand and say something because I didn't have all those boys around snickering and making fun at me and saying, stuff about how stupid girls are.
Mm.
I so appreciated the time not being with boys in that school.
Yeah.
And so later, you grow up and everything's integrated. You don't have that opportunity to be, just with girls anymore unless you make it that way. Well,
Right.
Elizabeth Ocean made this business academy for women.
Right.
And in that academy, the truth just comes out, and it's healing.
Yeah.
Able to speak the truth of fear, ignorance in front of others. There was somebody said shame dies when stories are told in safe places. That's Sarah Grace. She's one of our business sisters, and I'm meeting with her later today.
Beautiful.
I'm
Yeah.
so, yeah. And shame
It's so important to
stories are told in safe places, and women have so much shame.
Oh, please. Oh, yeah. The first issue I had to work through when I entered the medicine wheel the very first time was shame and guilt. Shame and guilt. They are, to me, if I look at shame and guilt, those are the quintessential tools for self-sabotage.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not useful at all.
No,
not at all.
Not. But it's so good to recognize it, and that is the beginning of getting past it.
For sure. For sure.
Right.
And then love and compassion and self-forgiveness
for
and
yourself.
of others. Yeah.
You must learn to forgive yourself.
Yep.
Oh, Ho'oponopono is so great for that. That's the Hawaiian mantra. I was telling y'all, I've learned a few mantras in my little experience as a grown-up, and they've been so helpful because it helps you find space in your mind and get rid of the junk.
Yep.
So the Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian mantra that is very simple. It's 4 lines. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. That's it. And you start it with yourself. And I did. The first time I heard it years ago, I said it I heard it. I repeated it out loud to myself with my hands all over me. You know, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. I'm sorry. You know, thank you.
Mm.
Thank you
Yeah.
for being you. Thank you for having the courage to say this out loud to yourself. You're okay. You're all
Yeah.
right. You can forgive yourself for all that shit that wasn't your fault. You didn't create it.
Right. Right.
And
Absolutely.
I love you. It's so important to
Yeah.
love yourself and to hear it daily and to really believe that you are a loved creature, because the creature inside you, that alien inside you, I don't know what it is, but it feels like love to me. It
Mm.
doesn't have all that shit that I grew up having in my brain as a human,
Mm.
but it's that spark of magic that still lives in me,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that started my life and still lives in me and goes someplace else when I die. When this human bag of bones dies, my whatever that creature is, it flies on. So we've seen.
Well, and we are all part of universal consciousness. And so even though we have our own individual flavors of how we express ourselves, we are all part of the whole. And so this mantra that I learned from an ayahuasca shaman in Brazil, there's always us, and after us, there's always us again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So if you think you're alone, or if you think it's you and them, it's us.
Yeah.
Always us. And that to me makes it a lot easier to be very accepting, very forgiving, very loving, no matter. I mean, it's hard when some people come at me with toxicity and hatred, and I usually just have to put up a boundary and step back. But in general, I'm giving that out to everyone that comes
Yeah.
across my path.
And now don't you recognize the toxicity and allow yourself grace, you know, and sympathy for that person who's being so toxic?
Yeah.
I feel badly for them now. You know, I'm
Right.
gee, it's a shame you don't have the peace I do. You know,
Right. And it's their journey. It's their journey to
yeah.
learn whatever they need to learn, however and whenever they need to learn.
And that's it. You can't fix anybody else.
Right.
So you can lead a horse to water, but can't make them drink.
Right.
That's what my husband was 90 when he passed about a year or so ago. And he was my absolute university, but he was a teetotaler and just couldn't do the whole pot thing. You know, it just freaked him out. He was Black too, so he had all that history behind him.
Mm.
I'm so sorry. I forgot what I was going to tell you about him.
Oh, shoot. Well, that he was 90 when he passed, and he was a teetotaler.
Thanks for listening so deeply. That's another lesson of women. We listen deeply. We listen deeply.
Yeah.
And you know, he never could get into cannabis. And as much as I tried to lead him with science and facts,
Right.
he was too scarred by stigma of being Black during cannabis prohibition all those years, and all the people that, you know, friends and family that he knew that were incarcerated because of
Right. Exactly.
just because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he never did get past that. And that was a huge lesson for me. There will be some that we just cannot reach. That just means that they have more lessons to learn, right? Until they
Or different
elevate.
lessons, or and different. Not everybody needs the same substances either.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is
like not
this
everybody
what you
needs
talked about?
mushrooms or ayahuasca.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't done ayahuasca yet. I did LSD before I learned that it was safer than a spoonful of sugar. You know,
Right.
And had a marvelous time on it. Would love to do some more later. Except now I'm 70 and I'm much more aware of what I put in my body.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
especially with, you know, the old lady meds that we generally end up take, blood pressure, thyroid,
Mm,
you know.
right.
But Now I'm just so, and I really want to do a mushroom ride for going inside, but I want it to be guided by
Right.
a professional,
Right.
somebody I trust, because you go under, into your own mind, and
Oh yeah,
like you're
that's
asleep
definitely
to the rest of the
something.
world, to the
Yeah,
waking world. And so you have to be in a trusted space where, people will care
absolutely.
for you properly. And,
Yeah.
and so, sorry, I keep hitting this. Anyway,
No.
is this shamanic journey what you talk about in the Women's Spirit Collective?
Well, the shamanic journeying that excuse me, that I can do, that anybody can do, doesn't actually require any substance at all. And they do teach us that in our training. They're like, everybody wants to do ayahuasca or mushrooms or this or
Oh,
that or the other,
yeah.
but it's not necessary. We can still achieve altered states of consciousness through meditation and breath
And
work.
breathing, right.
Yeah. I just really enjoy, like, for me, ayahuasca is like the express lane to where I need to go.
Is it
And
really?
yeah, I think so. For me, it was, and it's different for everybody, right? Because the medicine has a consciousness, and so the plant consciousness taps into your consciousness and teaches you whatever you need to learn at that particular point in time. And it can be very intense, and it can be very emotional, and it can, people can purge and all that stuff. But for me, though, I love to use marijuana as my just regular, I'm going to meditate. Like right now, it comes through as a song. Like I'll just open up sacred space, smoke a joint,
Yeah.
do a healing on myself, and almost every time a song comes through.
Yeah.
So that journeying is the journeying that I do to tap my divine creative potential.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is ayahuasca a plant that grows in New Mexico and Arizona?
That's probably peyote. And they might have San Pedro there as well, which are both hallucinogens. Ayahuasca is in South America.
Okay.
So it'll like the people that I know that are cultivating it are in generally any of the tributaries of the Amazon.
So it's not like you can just go find somebody here in the States and do a sesh. It's not as
Uh,
as cannabis.
I am told that you can find people in the States that are doing it. And my personal preference is to go directly to the source.
Yeah.
Part of that is because there are ethical considerations that really only the people who've been cultivating this plant for generations are most highly qualified to handle. And also, again, it's that trust factor. If you go into, on a Saturday night here in the States to do a session and you don't really know who's the guardian of the medicine, who are the guardians of the medicine,
Where it
what
came
is
from.
their history and their relationship, and who's going to bring you back from the abyss when you meet your demons.
The abyss. Right.
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 So yeah.
All kind of new area for audiences, and there's a lot of natural plants that just can help us medicinally, either spiritually, psychologically, to get over all kinds of demons inside,
Right,
and
yeah.
physically. So coming into this plant medicine is new for us in the US,
Right.
so not all the Americas, but in the US, and yet it's ancient wisdom in other territories of the world, China, India, the South Americas. So we just have not been privileged to see any of this sort of thing going on because of our American medical philosophy.
Right. And also, it does take a kind of just a preparation of your state of mind also. And this is why I think that decolonizing our minds is so important, because if we're so wrapped up in ways of thinking and ways of being and ways of knowing that are, rigidly rationalistic, and they don't allow for the spaces of the mysteries, then we're not really ready for it. And so it is a spiritual journey, and to treat it as a spiritual journey is the most respectful way to approach the plant medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely believe that. Absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
The whole problem of prohibition is that people who knew about the joys of this plant, sorry, just got distracted.
Well, but prohibition is a governmental thing, and governmental institutions historically have not had a very good relationship with Indigenous people. So let's just go ahead and,
put that out there. Just a little idea.
So, well, and I'll give you another example. So I think the law has changed, but when I was doing my PhD, there was a law that was I don't remember if it was being considered or going up for being repealed in Brazil. And the law somehow stated that because the Afro-Brazilian religions did not have a text that was their holy sacred text, because they're a danced and an oral religion, because it didn't have a sacred text, it was not a protected religion.
Wow. Men are so stupid.
Yeah. So this whole prohibition of a substance, prohibition of a book, prohibition of the act of prohibition is rooted in fear.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of that because I don't know what it is or what it does. So I'm going to make it illegal.
Right.
And that's what our governments do for us. I mean, they also pave roads and make libraries and schools and
yeah, we love the good things our governments do.
right.
But
we cannot rely on them for everything, and we should not give them control of everything.
And those are the individual peoples who, disappoint us.
Right. Yeah. Or
right.
like having autonomy over my own physical body ought to be
right.
something we all have as a basic human right.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, not yet.
Not yet. Men are still trying to tell us whether or not we can have babies. Whether they rape us or not.
I mean,
whether we're 10 years old or not.
I mean,
sorry, that was so crass.
Well, sometimes we have to say it like that because it's like,
that's the elephant in the room.
Right? How are you not
seeing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, Laurelann. We're having so much fun. Yeah. Girl,
thank you.
I want everybody to know that they can go listen to you in the Facebook group, Women's Spirit Festival on Facebook, the Facebook group.
Right. Yes.
Go in and listen to Laurelann, Women's Spirit Festival,
yep.
The Facebook group. But also, honey, how can we get in touch with you and say the name of your albums as well so we can
Sure.
go find
and the albums are on Spotify, iTunes, whatever is your basic streaming platform. So the 2020 album is called Comfort Food, and that is by us as the band, The Rhythm and the Flavor.
Love that.
And the 2023 album is Soul Journeying, and that's under my name, Laurelann Porter. So those are on, you can find those Spotify, iTunes, whatever. And if you want to reach out, just go to my website, laurelannporter.com.
Perfect.
There's quite a bit of information about my grief course and my butterfly boot camp. You can reach out to me. You can book a session. Reach out.
That butterfly boot camp sounds so perfect for so many women.
Right?
Oh my golly. If we could just get past those first issues, like, oh my glory, how much easier life would be for women if we were taught that we don't have to believe everything we think.
Absolutely.
And that we can have autonomy. Even in the lives that we lead right now, we can still have autonomy. Even if somebody is trying to control and suppress us right now, we can still have autonomy. We can still have autonomy and find peace and joy upstairs.
And this is what I learned from the abolitionist movement, the prison abolitionist movement. Because at first I was like, how do you make prisons obsolete? And the whole point was, you work for something that seems impossible while cultivating and building the ways for that to become possible.
Oh, that's so juicy. That's so juicy.
Yeah.
You just think it, set the goal, and one step
One step at a
after
time.
another.
Yep.
There's a quote that Nancy Pelosi said that I've used ever since I first heard her say it. She's an old Catholic, and she said, "Age quod ages, baby." That's Latin for one foot in front of the other.
Mm.
And I just love that statement, because even in my darkest hours, when I said that out loud to myself, that little mantra, "Age quod ages," I just knew that if I kept going, something would change and become different for me and more manageable. And it does.
Yeah, because the thing we don't want to do is to just fall into despair. But all it takes is one tiny little action, one tiny little bit of movement, and then you can begin to cultivate the momentum that carries you more effortlessly.
You
into
know
the
what
future.
that one tiny little thing might even be is a breath of fresh air to change all that shit going on upstairs in you.
Mm.
And
Yes.
then you might have the creativity to, think of something else. So it's not a difficult path to change the way you think.
No.
You just have to put one thought in front of the other, one foot in front of the next, just
One breath after
keep
the
trying.
next. Yeah.
One breath in front of the next. Yeah.
Yep.
Just keep going. Oh, Laurelann, I love you, honey. It's been so
This has
pleasurable
been great.
to
Thank you
speak
so
with
much.
you. Thank you for helping us all realize the importance of being a shamanic woman on this planet and learning for ourselves how to be, at peace with joy. Can't
Yes.
wait
Yes.
to listen to your music. I really
Wonderful.
can. And I'll be up on stage with you too on different events. And please, won't you come back anytime and tell us of your new discoveries or new
I would love that.
workshops? Okay,
Absolutely.
that'd
Yeah.
be great. All right. Well, I'm sending you peace and love and all that girly juju, and I'll see you again soon, darling, especially
Thank you
on
so much. All
It's
right.
been wonderful.
It's
Mwah,
been
take
great.
care.
Take care. You too. Bye.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. It is important to use verifiably safe products and look out for yourself while we're in this wild, wild west of cannabis right now. Ask for help. It can get complicated. If you need serious medical attention, please consult one of the specialists at cannabisclinicians.org. They will get you to the right person and therapy for your issues. Tune in here for weekly foundational knowledge and learn to determine the best choices and cannabis strategies for your issues. But please be advised that shamans are not doctors or scientists. You'll find those at cannabisclinicians.org. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you for your time today.